I married a man who looks at me like I'm already dead. That's what Ava Carter realizes on her wedding night. Standing in a penthouse that costs more than most people earn in a lifetime, wearing a ring that feels like a shackle, watching her new husband pour whiskey like she doesn't exist. Ethan Wolfe didn't want a wife. He wanted a signature on paper. And she gave it to him because sometimes love isn't about hearts and flowers. It's about the price you're willing to pay to keep someone alive. Stay with me until the end. Hit like and comment what city you're watching from. I want to see how far this story travels. The hospital smelled like disinfectant and dying hope. Ava sat in the waiting room with her hands pressed between her knees, trying to keep them from shaking. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, relentless and cold, washing everything in a sickly white glow. Across from her, a child slept against his mother's shoulder. An old man coughed wetly into his fist. Somewhere down the hall, machines beeped in steady rhythms that counted down to things people didn't want to think about. She'd been here for 6 hours. Her brother Noah was in surgery. Again, the third time in 2 months. Leukemia didn't care that he was only 19, that he'd just gotten accepted to art school, that he still slept with the stuffed dog their father gave him before he died. It didn't care that Ava had already sold everything she owned, maxed out every credit card, taken a second job she could barely manage on top of the first. The doctor had been blunt that morning. Without the transplant, he has maybe 3 months. With it, if we can find a match, if we can get him stable enough, if the insurance approves it, he might have years. Too many ifs. And one massive problem. Insurance wouldn't cover it. Not all of it. The experimental treatment, the specialists, the aftercare, it came to a number so large Ava's brain couldn't process it. $400,000. Might as well have been $4 million. She was a junior copywriter at a mid-tier marketing firm. She made $38,000 a year before taxes. She'd tried everything. Crowdfunding campaigns that barely broke $5,000. Loan applications that came back denied. She'd called distant relatives who hadn't spoken to her family in years, begged strangers on the internet, looked into medical trials that made her stomach turn. Nothing. And then Marcus called. Marcus Chen had been her father's business partner once, back when her father still had a business, before the heart attack that killed him, left nothing but debt and half-finished contracts. She hadn't heard from Marcus in 5 years, didn't even know he had her number. "I heard about Noah," he'd said, voice smooth and careful over the phone. "I'm sorry, Ava, I know this must be hell." She'd almost hung up. Grief tourists, her mother used to call them, people who showed up when things got bad just to feel better about their own lives. But then he said, "I might know someone who can help." She should have known better. She did know better. But when you're drowning, you don't ask questions about the hand pulling you up. Marcus had given her an address, a name. Ethan Wolfe. "He's complicated," Marcus had warned, "but he has the resources, and he owes me a favor." Why would a billionaire help me? He wouldn't, but he might help me, and I'm asking. Ava had looked him up that night, sitting in Noah's empty apartment, surrounded by his half-finished paintings and college brochures he'd never get to use. Ethan Wolfe's face stared back at her from a dozen Forbes articles, business journals, society pages. Cold eyes, sharp jaw, the kind of face that looked carved rather than born. He was 34, never married, CEO of Wolfe Enterprises, a sprawling conglomerate that did everything from real estate to tech investments to things Ava didn't understand. The articles called him ruthless, calculating, a shark in a suit. One tabloid called him Manhattan's most eligible bastard. She'd stared at his photograph for a long time, trying to see something human in those eyes. She couldn't, but Noah was dying, and desperation makes you do things you never thought possible. The meeting was set for Tuesday at 3 p.m. Wolfe Enterprises occupied the top 15 floors of a glass tower in Midtown that looked like it was trying to stab the sky. Ava stood on the sidewalk outside, staring up at it, feeling impossibly small. Her shoes were old. Her blazer had a stain she'd tried to cover with a scarf. She looked exactly like what she was, someone who didn't belong here. But she went in anyway. The lobby was all marble and chrome, echoing with the click of expensive heels and the low murmur of people who made decisions that moved markets. Security made her sign in, checked her ID twice. A receptionist with perfect makeup and a smile that didn't reach her eyes directed her to the elevator. 54th floor, someone will meet you. The elevator moved so smoothly, Ava barely felt it. Just the numbers climbing. 40, 45, 50. The doors opened onto a reception area that looked like it belonged in an art museum. Abstract sculptures, leather furniture, floor-to-ceiling windows that turned the city into a backdrop. A woman in her 50s, gray hair pulled into a severe bun, looked up from her desk. "Miss Carter?" "Yes." "Mr. Wolf is expecting you. Follow me." They walked down a hallway lined with photographs, buildings, projects, architectural renderings. Everything clean and sharp and expensive. The woman's heels clicked against the hardwood. Ava's heartbeat felt louder. The office at the end of the hall had double doors. The woman knocked once, didn't wait for an answer, and pushed them open. "Miss Carter, sir." And then she left, closing the doors behind her with a soft click that sounded like a trap snapping shut. The office was massive. Windows on 2 walls. A desk that looked hand-carved. Bookshelves filled with leather-bound volumes that probably cost more than Ava's car. And behind the desk, standing with his back to her, looking out at the city like he owned it, Ethan Wolf. He didn't turn around immediately. Just stood there, hands in his pockets, shoulders straight. Ava waited, feeling her pulse in her throat. Seconds stretched. She was about to say something, anything, when he finally spoke. "Marcus says you need money." His voice was low, controlled. The kind of voice that never had to ask twice. "Yes." "How much?" 400,000. For my brother's treatment. He has... I know what he has." Ethan turned then, and the photographs hadn't lied. Sharp features, cold eyes. He looked at her the way someone might look at a contract, assessing value, calculating risk. "Marcus sent me the details." Ava's hands tightened on her purse strap. "I can pay you back. It'll take time, but You can't. I'll find a way. I'll work. You make $38,000 a year. After taxes, rent, basic expenses, you'd need approximately 15 years to pay me back, assuming no interest, no emergencies, no life." He moved to his desk, sat down, gestured to the chair across from him. "Sit." She sat. Felt about 10 years old doing it. Ethan leaned back in his chair, studying her. "I'm not a charity, Miss Carter. I don't give money away." "Then why am I here?" "Because Marcus called in a favor, and because I need something." Ava's stomach dropped. "What?" "A wife." The word hung in the air between them like something solid. She stared at him. "What?" "My father is sick. Cancer. He has maybe a year, possibly less. His dying wish is to see me married and settled before he goes. He's made it clear that if I'm not, certain complications will arise with the business. Board members who share his traditional views, investors who prefer stability, a contested will." Ethan's expression didn't change. "I need to fulfill that wish. You need money. I'm proposing a transaction." Ava felt like the floor had dropped out from under her. "You want me to marry you?" "For 1 year. Legally binding, but purely contractual. You'll live in my home, attend necessary public events as my wife, maintain the appearance of a legitimate marriage. In exchange, I'll cover your brother's treatment in full, plus a monthly allowance of $10,000 for personal expenses." That's insane. That's business. You could marry anyone. Someone from your world. Someone who would expect something real. Ethan's eyes were flat, unreadable. Someone who would complicate things. You're perfect precisely because you're not from my world. You need something specific. I can provide it. When the year is over, we divorce quietly, you walk away with enough money to start over, and everyone gets what they want. Ava's mind was racing. This is crazy. People don't do this. People do this all the time. They just don't usually admit it. He pulled a document from his desk drawer, slid it across to her. The contract. Everything outlined. Your obligations, my obligations, terms of termination, confidentiality clauses. Read it. Think about it. You have 48 hours to decide. She looked down at the document. 40 pages at least. Dense legal text. Her brother's life, reduced to terms and conditions. And if I say no, then you say no. I'll find another solution to my problem. You'll find another solution to yours. His tone didn't change. But we both know you won't find $400,000 in 3 months. Ava felt something cold settle in her chest. You're a real bastard, aren't you? Yes. No emotion, no apology. But I'm a bastard who can save your brother's life. She took the contract home and didn't sleep that night. Read it 4 times. Every word, every clause. It was exactly what he'd said, cold, calculated, binding. She would move into his penthouse within a week of signing. She would attend all required social functions. She would present as a devoted wife in public. She would not embarrass him, contradict him, or behave in any way that might suggest the arrangement was anything other than genuine. In exchange, full payment of Noah's medical expenses. $10,000 a month for 12 months. A divorce settlement of $100,000 at the end, provided she fulfilled all terms. There were rules, pages of them. No romantic entanglements with others during the marriage. No discussion of the arrangement with anyone except her brother, who would be required to sign a separate NDA. No attempts to claim any of Ethan's assets beyond what was specified. If she violated any terms, the contract was void, and she owed him everything back. It was a cage dressed up in legal language. But Noah was dying. Ava sat in the hospital the next morning, watching her brother sleep. He looked so young, so fragile. The IV drip counted time in steady drops. His breathing was shallow. He'd always protected her when they were kids. When their father drank too much, when their mother worked late, when other kids made fun of Ava's secondhand clothes, Noah had been there. Her best friend, her family. Now it was her turn. She signed the contract that afternoon. Marcus witnessed it. Ethan's lawyer notarized it. 40 pages of her life traded for Noah's chance to keep living his. Ethan didn't smile when she handed it back. Didn't shake her hand. Just took the document, glanced over her signature, and nodded once. The wedding is Saturday. Small ceremony, immediate family only. My assistant will contact you with details. That's 5 days from now. Yes. I have to tell my brother. You have 5 days. He stood, clearly done with the conversation. Welcome to the family, Miss Carter. The wedding was exactly as warm as she'd expected. A judge's office. Ethan in a black suit that probably cost more than her annual salary. Ava in a simple white dress she'd bought on sale 2 days before. Marcus was there. Ethan's assistant. 2 lawyers. No flowers, no music. No pretense that this was anything other than what it was. The judge went through the words quickly, efficiently. Did she take this man? Did he take this woman? Say I do, sign here. Here. Initial here. 15 minutes. That's how long it took to sell herself. Ethan kissed her at the end because the judge was traditional and it was expected. His lips were cool, professional, exactly like a handshake. Then it was over and she was Mrs. Wolf and her brother's treatment was paid for, and she felt absolutely nothing except vaguely nauseous. Car's waiting, Ethan said, not looking at her. For what? To take us home. Home. The word felt foreign. The car was a black Mercedes with leather seats and a driver who didn't make conversation. Ava stared out the window as Manhattan blurred past. Ethan made phone calls in a language she didn't recognize, German, maybe, or Dutch, talking business like he hadn't just gotten married. The penthouse was in a building she'd only seen in magazines. The doorman tipped his hat. The elevator required a key. They rose 42 floors in silence. When the doors opened, they opened directly into the apartment. It was stunning, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Central Park. Modern furniture, all clean lines and expensive fabrics. Art on the walls that looked important. A kitchen that belonged in a restaurant. Everything white and gray and chrome, beautiful and cold as a museum. Your room is down that hall, second door on the left, Ethan said, setting his briefcase down. I'm at the end. There's a shared bathroom in the middle if you need it, though your room has an ensuite. Okay. Housekeeper comes Mondays and Thursdays. Cook comes at 6, unless I tell him otherwise. Don't touch anything in my office. He loosened his tie. Questions? About 1,000. No. Good. He headed toward what she assumed was his bedroom. Paused. Turned back. One more thing. What? This is a business arrangement, Mrs. Wolf, nothing more. I need you to understand that clearly. You're here because I need a wife on paper. That's all you are. That's all you'll ever be. His eyes were flat. empty. Don't mistake proximity for intimacy. Don't expect conversations or companionship or whatever fantasies you might have about what marriage means. We're not friends. We're not lovers. We're barely acquaintances. Clear? Something sharp twisted in Ava's chest. Crystal. Excellent. And then he was gone, disappearing into his room, closing the door with a quiet click that felt like the final punctuation on the worst day of her life. Ava stood there in the massive, beautiful, empty apartment and thought, what have I done? Her room was bigger than the apartment she'd been renting. King bed, walk-in closet, windows that showed the city spread out like something from a dream. Marble bathroom with a shower big enough for 4 people. Everything clean, untouched, perfect. It felt like a hotel. Ava's suitcase looked pathetic in the corner, everything she owned fitting into 2 bags. She unpacked slowly, putting her clothes next to empty space where a whole other person's life should go. Hung up her 3 dresses, lined up her shoes, put her toothbrush in the bathroom, and stared at herself in the mirror. Mrs. Wolfe. She didn't look any different, same brown hair, same ordinary face, same exhausted eyes. But something fundamental had shifted. She'd signed away a year of her life, married a stranger who'd made it clear she meant nothing. Her phone buzzed. Noah. How'd the meeting with the specialist go? She'd told him she'd found a way to pay for treatment, a donor who wanted to remain anonymous, medical charity, something. He'd been so relieved he'd cried, and Ava had held him and lied and felt like the worst sister in the world. Good, she texted back. They're optimistic. Surgery scheduled for next week. Thank God. I love you too. She set the phone down and sat on the edge of the bed that cost more than a car and felt more alone than she'd ever felt in her life. The first week was silent. Ethan left before she woke up, came home after she'd gone to bed. She saw him maybe twice, once in passing in the hallway, once when she'd gotten up at 2 a.m. for water and found him at the kitchen island with a laptop, working in the dark. Sorry, she'd said. Didn't mean to disturb you. He hadn't looked up. You didn't. She'd gotten her water and gone back to her room. The housekeeper, Maria, was kind in a way that made Ava want to cry. Older woman, soft smile, didn't ask questions. She left fresh towels, made the bed. Sometimes there were flowers in Ava's room. Nothing extravagant, just small arrangements that made the space feel less like a tomb. The cook, James, was professional and distant. Left meals in warming drawers with little cards. Salmon, roasted vegetables, wild rice. Everything perfectly prepared. Everything eaten alone. Ava started going to the hospital every day. Sat with Noah during his prep appointments. Held his hand during the rough conversations with doctors. He was getting stronger, healthier. The preliminary treatments were working. He'd gained weight, had color in his cheeks again. You seem different, he said one afternoon. Different how? I don't know, tired, but also somewhere else. I'm here. Your body is, your brain's not. He studied her. You sure you're okay? This donor thing, it's not... You didn't do something stupid, did you? Define stupid. Ava. I'm fine. I promise. Just focus on getting better. He didn't look convinced, but he let it go. The first public event was a charity gala. Ethan's assistant, Victoria, showed up at the penthouse 3 days before with a garment bag and instructions. Saturday night, 7 p.m., black tie. This is your dress. She hung the bag on Ava's closet door. Hair and makeup team will be here at 4. Car leaves at 6:30. Questions? What's the event? Children's Hospital fundraiser. You'll sit beside Mr. Wolfe during dinner, smile for photographs, make small talk with donors. He'll introduce you as his wife. You'll be gracious and charming and give no indication this is anything other than a love match. Right, easy. Victoria's expression softened slightly. It gets easier. First one's always rough. How many of these are there? In a given month, 4 or 5, sometimes more. Jesus. Welcome to being a wolf. The dress was beautiful, deep blue, fitted, elegant without being flashy. Ava stared at it after Victoria left, trying to imagine herself in it, playing the part of someone who belonged in Ethan's world. She couldn't, but Saturday came anyway. Başsamsin. The hair and makeup team transformed her into someone unrecognizable. Ava stared at herself in the mirror. Elegant updo, subtle but flawless makeup, the dress fitting like it had been made for her. She looked expensive, polished, like someone who married billionaires. "You look beautiful," Maria said softly from the doorway. "I look like a fraud." "No, mija, you look like you belong." Ava wished that were true. Ethan was waiting in the living room when she emerged. He wore a tuxedo like he'd been born in one. Perfect fit, perfect posture, checking his phone with the same distant expression he always wore. Then he looked up. For just a second, less than a heartbeat, something flickered in his eyes. Surprise, maybe. Or appreciation. Something almost human. Then it was gone. "Ready?" he asked. "As I'll ever be." In the car, he briefed her. "The Harrisons will be there. Old money, multiple foundations. Smile, but don't engage beyond pleasantries. The Chens are attending, avoid discussing politics. If anyone asks how we met, we tell them through Marcus at a charity auction last year. Whirlwind romance, very private, didn't want media attention." "Got it. Lie." "Yes." She looked at him, really looked. "Does anything about this bother you?" "Why would it?" "We're lying to everyone. Your father, these people." "Everyone lies, Mrs. Wolfe. I'm just honest about it." He glanced at her. "This arrangement works because we both understand what it is. Don't complicate it by developing a conscience." "I've always had a conscience." "Then learn to ignore it." The ballroom was exactly what Ava expected. Chandeliers, champagne, people dripping in jewelry that could fund small countries. A string quartet played something classical. Waiters circulated with trays of hors d'oeuvres that were more art than food. Ethan's hand settled on the small of her back as they entered. Possessive, performative. She fought the urge to flinch. "Smile," he murmured. "You look like you're at a funeral." "Maybe I am." "Whose?" "Mine." His jaw tightened, but he didn't respond. They made the rounds. Ethan introduced her dozens of times, my wife, Ava, and she smiled and shook hands and said the right things and felt like a trained animal performing tricks. People were polite, curious, assessing. She could see the calculations in their eyes. Who is she? Where did she come from? Is she worthy? The answer was no, and they all knew it. During dinner, Ava sat beside Ethan at a table with people whose wealth was measured in generations. They talked about markets, properties, vacations in places Ava couldn't pronounce. She pushed food around her plate and sipped water and tried to look interested. "So how did you two really meet?" a woman named Catherine asked, leaning in with predatory interest. "The charity auction story is charming, but I want details." Ava glanced at Ethan. He didn't miss a beat. "She spilled wine on my jacket," he said smoothly, apologized profusely. I was annoyed. She was mortified. Somehow that turned into coffee, which turned into dinner, which turned into this. "How romantic," Catherine said, clearly not buying it. "It was clumsy," Ava added. "Very on brand for me." Ethan's hand found hers under the table, squeezed once. Warning or reassurance, she couldn't tell. The evening dragged on. Speeches, auction, forced conversation. Ethan played the attentive husband perfectly. Hand at her waist, occasional smile, body language that screamed newly married and content. It was all performance. But once, when someone made a joke at Ava's expense about charity cases, Ethan's expression went cold. "Careful," he said quietly, voice like a blade. "That's my wife you're talking about." The table went silent. The man who'd made the joke paled. "I didn't mean—" "I'm sure you didn't." Ethan stood, pulling Ava up with him. "Excuse us." He led her away from the table, through the ballroom, out onto a balcony overlooking the city. Cold air hit her face. She breathed it in, grateful. "You didn't have to do that," she said. "Yes, I did." "Why? It's not real. None of this is real." Ethan looked at her then, really looked, and for a moment she saw something underneath the ice. Something tired. "Real or not, you're still my wife," he said. "I don't let people disrespect what's mine. I'm not yours. For the next 11 months, you are." They stood there in the cold, the sounds of the party muffled behind glass, and Ava felt the weight of the year ahead settle on her shoulders like snow. Things didn't get easier. More events, more performances, more nights in the beautiful, empty apartment where she and Ethan existed like ghosts in separate worlds. He was never cruel, but he was never warm. Professional, distant, exactly what he'd promised to be. But she started noticing things, small things. The way he took his coffee, black, no sugar, in the same mug every morning. The way he ran his hand through his hair when he was frustrated. The way he stood at the windows late at night, just looking out at the city like he was searching for something he'd lost. He worked constantly. 16-hour days, phone calls at midnight. Weekends disappeared into meetings and contracts. She'd hear him sometimes, through walls, speaking in that controlled voice that never wavered, never showed stress. But she saw it in the lines around his eyes, the tension in his shoulders, the way he sometimes rubbed his chest like something hurt there. One night, 3 weeks into the marriage, she found him asleep at his desk. It was 2 a.m. She'd gotten up for water again. Chronic insomnia, apparently, was what happened when you sold your life. His office door was cracked open. Light spilled out. She peered in. Ethan was slumped over his laptop, head on his arms, still in his suit from whatever event he'd attended without her that night. Papers everywhere, empty coffee cups, the screen still glowing. Ava stood there for a long moment, watching him breathe. He looked different asleep, younger, less like a weapon and more like a person. She should have left, gone back to bed. It wasn't her business if he worked himself into the ground. But she didn't. She grabbed a throw blanket from the couch, walked quietly into the office, and draped it over his shoulders. Careful not to wake him. Then she turned off the desk lamp, the screen glow was enough, and left. In the morning, the blanket was folded neatly on the couch. He never mentioned it. Neither did she. But the next week, when she came home from the hospital exhausted and drained from watching Noah go through another round of treatment, there was food waiting. Not the usual carefully plated meal from James, takeout, Thai food. Her favorite dish from a restaurant near her old apartment. She stared at it for a long time. Then she ate it alone and tried not to think about what it meant. The cracks started small. A month in, Ethan's father wanted to meet her. Tomorrow, Ethan said over breakfast, one of the rare mornings they were both in the kitchen at the same time. My father's having a good day. His nurse says he's strong enough for visitors. Okay. He'll ask questions. Be prepared. What kind of questions? How we met, why we married, if we're happy. Ethan's tone was flat. Lie convincingly. I've gotten good at that. Something flickered across his face. Yes, you have. The Wolf estate was in Connecticut. Sprawling grounds, old money architecture. The kind of place that had been in the family for generations. They drove up in silence. Ethan's jaw was tight the entire way. You don't want to be here, Ava observed. No. Why? Because my father is a manipulative bastard who's using his own mortality to control me. But he's still dying, so I have to pretend to care. Do you care? Ethan didn't answer. The house was massive, cold. A nurse met them at the door, middle-aged woman with kind eyes and a tired smile. He's in the study, she said. Good day today. Very alert. Wonderful, Ethan said without feeling. Richard Wolfe sat in a leather chair by a fire, oxygen tubes in his nose, blanket over his lap. He'd been a big man once. You could see it in the frame, the shoulders, but cancer had hollowed him out. Still, his eyes were sharp when they landed on Ava. So this is her. Father. This is Ava, my wife. Ava, Richard Wolfe. Ava stepped forward, offered her hand. Mr. Wolfe, it's good to meet you. His handshake was weak but firm, assessing. Sit, both of you. They sat. Ethan's posture was perfect, controlled, like a soldier at attention. How did you meet my son? Richard asked. Ava launched into the rehearsed story. Charity auction, spilled wine, coffee, love. The lies came easily now. Richard listened without expression. And you're happy? Very, Ava said. Ethan? Yes? No hesitation. Perfect delivery. Richard studied them both for a long, uncomfortable moment. Then he smiled, something thin and knowing. You're both excellent liars. I respect that. He coughed, wet and rattling. But I don't care if it's real or not. I needed Ethan settled. He's settled. That's enough. Ava's stomach dropped. You know. I've known my son for 34 years, girl. You think I can't tell when he's performing? Richard's eyes shifted to Ethan. But a deal's a deal. You're married, I'm satisfied. The board will be satisfied. When I'm gone, everything proceeds as planned. Ethan's expression didn't change. Good. Don't look so cold, boy. You got what you wanted. Did I? Something passed between them. History, resentment, years of things unsaid. Then Richard waved them off. Go. I'm tired. Come back next month. In the car, Ava finally spoke. He knew the whole time. Yes. You knew he knew. Yes. So this was all theater. Ethan stared out the window. Everything with my father is theater. Why do you hate him? I don't hate him. I just don't feel anything for him. He glanced at her. Feeling things is a waste of energy. That's sad. That's practical. They drove in silence for a while. Then Ava said quietly, What happened to you? Excuse me? To make you like this. So closed off, so careful, Mrs. Wolfe. His voice went cold. Our contract doesn't include therapy sessions. I'm not trying to. Yes, you are. Don't. He turned to face her fully. Whatever you think you see, whatever you think you understand, you don't. We have an arrangement. It's working. Leave it alone. Ava looked at him, really looked, and saw fear underneath the ice. He was afraid of her, or afraid of what might happen if she got too close. She didn't push, but she didn't forget either. Winter came. The city transformed into something beautiful and brutal, snow covering the streets, Christmas lights turning everything golden. Ava watched it from the penthouse windows, feeling disconnected from the warmth below. Noah was doing better. The transplant had taken. He was recovering, slowly, talking about going back to school in the spring. Every time Ava saw him, he looked more alive. Meanwhile, she felt like she was disappearing. The events continued. The performances. She'd gotten good at playing Mrs. Wolfe. The smile, the small talk, the way to stand beside Ethan and look content. People bought it, or they didn't care enough to question it. But the silence in the penthouse was getting heavier. She and Ethan barely spoke. Days would pass without a real conversation. They lived separate lives under the same roof, orbiting each other like planets that never touched. Until one night in early December, Ava couldn't sleep, again. She wandered out to the living room and found Ethan standing at the windows, drink in hand, staring out at the snow. Can't sleep either? She asked. He didn't turn. Apparently not. She moved to stand beside him. They looked out at the city together, silent. Finally, she said, Do you ever get tired of being alone? I'm not alone. I'm married. You know what I mean. Ethan took a sip of his drink. Being alone is easier. Easier than what? Than the alternative. Which is? He looked at her then, really looked, and for just a moment the armor cracked. She saw something raw underneath, something that looked like loneliness. Caring, he said quietly, and losing. Who did you lose? The armor snapped back into place. No one. Forget I said anything. Ethan. Go to bed, Ava. It wasn't a suggestion. She went. But she lay awake for hours, thinking about the way he'd looked at her, the way his voice had broken just slightly on that last word. Caring and losing. Who had Ethan Wolfe loved and lost? And what had it done to him? She started finding him in unexpected places after that night. Not often, not predictably, but enough that Ava began to notice a pattern in the chaos of their separate lives. Tuesday morning, she came into the kitchen at 6, and he was already there, tie loose, reading something on his tablet. He glanced up when she entered, nodded once, went back to whatever he was reading. She made coffee. He didn't leave. They existed in the same space for 20 minutes without speaking, and somehow it didn't feel as hostile as it usually did. Thursday evening, she was curled up on the couch with a book when he emerged from his office. Stopped. Looked at her like he was surprised to find her there, even though she lived there. What are you reading? He asked. She showed him the cover. Mystery novel. Nothing fancy. Any good? Distracting. From what? Everything, she wanted to say. This life. This arrangement. The way I'm starting to notice things about you I shouldn't notice. Just life, she said instead. He almost smiled, didn't quite make it, but something softened around his eyes. Distractions underrated, he said, and then he was gone again. Small moments. Nothing that meant anything. But they accumulated like snow, and Ava felt the weight of them settling somewhere in her chest. She couldn't quite identify. December deepened. The city prepared for Christmas with the kind of aggressive cheer that felt performative. Ava helped Noah pick out a small tree for his apartment, watched him decorate it with the ornaments from their childhood. He was getting stronger every day, talking about next semester, making plans. You should bring your husband by sometime, Noah said, hanging a lopsided angel on top. I want to meet the mysterious donor. Ava's stomach clenched. He's busy. He's always busy? What kind of marriage is this, Ava? The modern kind. Noah gave her a look that said he didn't buy it but wasn't going to push. Yet. Just seems weird. You've been married 2 months and I haven't even seen a picture of the guy. He's private. Or imaginary. Very real. Just very busy. If you say so. Noah stepped back, surveyed his work. How are you doing? Really? Fine. Liar. Ava looked at her brother. Color in his cheeks, life in his eyes, future stretching out ahead of him again. Worth it, she thought. Whatever this costs me, he's worth it. I'm okay, she said. Promise. She wasn't sure if she was lying or not. That weekend, Ethan's assistant called with instructions for another event. Holiday party at some penthouse uptown, hosted by one of Ethan's business partners. Black tie. 7 p.m. Do I have to? Ava asked Victoria. Contract says yes. Right, the contract. Hair and makeup at 4, Victoria said, ignoring the bitterness in Ava's voice. Dress is already in your closet, red this time. The dress was stunning. Deep crimson, fitted, elegant. Ava stared at it and wondered who she was becoming. This woman who wore $1,000 dresses to parties where people drank champagne that cost more than rent. This woman who smiled on command and lied professionally, and shared a home with a man who looked at her like she was furniture, except he didn't. Not always, not anymore. That was the problem. The party was packed, wall-to-wall people, music too loud, laughter that sounded expensive. Ethan's hand found its usual place at the small of her back as they navigated the crowd. She'd stopped flinching at the touch, had started noticing the way his fingers sometimes lingered a second longer than necessary. Stop it, she told herself. It doesn't mean anything. Ethan! A man approached, tall, silver hair, expensive suit. Finally! Been trying to reach you all week. Robert, good to see you. Ethan shook his hand. This is my wife, Ava. The mysterious Mrs. Wolfe. We've all been dying to meet you properly. Robert's smile was warm, but his eyes were calculating. How are you finding married life? Illuminating, Ava said. Ethan's fingers pressed into her back. Warning. She means wonderful, he corrected smoothly. Still adjusting to my schedule. I imagine that's challenging. Ethan works like he's trying to outrun something. Robert laughed. What are you running from, old friend? Mediocrity, Ethan said without hesitation. Spoken like a true wolf. They talked business. Ava stood there, smiled when appropriate, let the conversation wash over her. She was getting good at disappearing while still being present, a useful skill in this world. But then someone bumped into her from behind, hard, and champagne sloshed out of her glass, splashing across the front of her dress. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. A woman, younger, drunk, eyes wide. It's fine, Ava said automatically. It's not fine. That dress is gorgeous. I'm such a mess. Really, it's okay. Ethan's hand was suddenly at her elbow. Excuse us, Robert. He guided Ava away from the crowd, down a hallway, into what looked like a study. Closed the door behind them. The silence was immediate, complete. You okay? He asked. It's champagne, not acid. That dress cost $5,000. I didn't ask for a $5,000 dress. No, you didn't. He grabbed a towel from the attached bathroom, handed it to her. Here. She dabbed at the stain uselessly. This isn't coming out. Dry cleaner will handle it. You have a dry cleaner who specializes in champagne emergencies. I have a dry cleaner who specializes in making problems disappear. He watched her struggle with the towel for a moment, then took it from her hands. Here, let me. He was close suddenly, too close. She could smell his cologne, something expensive and understated, could see the faint shadow of stubble along his jaw. His hands moved carefully, dabbing at the stain on her dress, and she was acutely aware that his fingers were inches from her skin. Ethan, hold still. This is ridiculous. Yes. But he didn't stop, just kept working at the stain with a focus that seemed excessive for the task. Finally, he stepped back. Better. Barely noticeable now. It was still very noticeable. Thank you, she said. We should get back. Should we? He looked at her then, really looked. And there it was again, that crack in the armor, that glimpse of something underneath, something that looked almost human. You did well tonight, he said quietly. With Robert, with the dress situation, you're getting better at this. At lying? At surviving. Is that what we're doing? Surviving? What else would you call it? Good question. She didn't have an answer. They went back to the party, stayed another hour, made the rounds, played their parts. In the car on the way home, Ethan was quiet, staring out the window at the city passing by. That thing Robert said, Ava ventured, about you running from something, is that true? Everyone's running from something. What are you running from? Ethan was silent for so long she thought he wasn't going to answer. Then, the past, same as everyone else. What happened in your past? Nothing that concerns you. We're married. On paper. Still married. He turned to look at her. Why do you care? I don't know, she said honestly. Maybe because we live together and I keep finding you alone at 3 a.m. looking like the loneliest person I've ever seen. Maybe because you're not as good at hiding as you think you are. Something flickered across his face. Anger, maybe, or fear. Don't, he said. Don't try to understand me. Don't try to fix me. I'm not a project. I'm not trying to... You are. I can see it. This need to make sense of things, to find meaning in the arrangement. He leaned closer. There is no meaning, Ava. There's a contract. That's all. Then why did you defend me at that gala? Why do you leave food when I'm tired? Why are you helping me with this stain instead of sending me to deal with it alone? Because maintaining the appearance of a functional marriage requires basic courtesy. Bullshit. Excuse me? You heard me. Bullshit. That Ava felt something snap inside her. 2 months of silence and performance and pretending. You want me to believe you're this cold, calculating machine who doesn't feel anything? Fine. But I see you, Ethan. Late at night when you think no one's watching, standing at those windows like you're searching for something you lost, working yourself into the ground like if you stop moving, you'll have to actually think about your life. You're not emotionless. You're just scared. The car was very quiet. Ethan's jaw was tight. You don't know what you're talking about. Don't I? No, you've been here 2 months. You've seen nothing. I've seen enough. They pulled up to the building. Ethan was out of the car before it fully stopped, heading for the elevator without waiting for her. Ava followed, heart pounding. They rode up in hostile silence. Inside the penthouse, he went straight for his office. Ava caught his arm. Don't walk away. Let go. Not until you talk to me. We have nothing to talk about. We have 11 months left of this arrangement. We can do it in silence, or we can be actual human beings to each other. I never promised to be human. Maybe you should try it sometime. He pulled his arm free, faced her fully. You want humanity? Fine. Here it is. I married you because I needed a solution to a problem. You married me because you needed money. That's the entire foundation of this relationship. Everything else, every kind word, every considerate gesture, every moment you think means something, it's just me maintaining an asset. That's all you are, an asset. The words hit like a slap. Ava stood there, feeling something crack inside her chest. An asset. Yes. That's all? That's all. Then why are you so angry right now? I'm not angry. You're furious, I can see it. And you know what? People don't get furious about assets. They get furious when something matters and they don't want it to. Ethan's expression went deadly cold. Get out of my way. Make me. They stood there, inches apart, something electric crackling in the space between them. His breathing was quick. So was hers. She could see a muscle jumping in his jaw, see the way his hands had clenched into fists. You're playing a dangerous game, he said quietly. I'm not playing anything. I'm just tired of the performance. The performance is all there is. I don't believe that. Then you're a fool. He pushed past her, disappeared into his office, slammed the door. Ava stood there in the hallway, shaking, feeling like she'd just survived something, or started something, she wasn't sure which. She went to her room, lay on the bed in her $5,000 dress with the champagne stain and stared at the ceiling. Her phone buzzed. Noah. How was the party? She stared at the message for a long time before typing, interesting. That doesn't sound good. It wasn't bad, just complicated. Everything about your life lately is complicated. You sure you're okay? No, she wanted to type. I'm living with a man who looks at me like I'm nothing and something all at once, and I can't figure out which is true. I'm playing a part so well, I'm starting to forget what's real. I'm watching you get better, and it's the only thing keeping me sane. I'm fine, she typed instead. Love you. Love you too. Get some sleep. She didn't sleep. Lay there listening to the sounds of the penthouse, the hum of the heating, the distant traffic, the absolute silence from Ethan's office. Around 2 a.m., she heard his door open. Footsteps. Then nothing. She got up, found him in the kitchen, tie gone, sleeves rolled up, making coffee, even though it was the middle of the night. Couldn't sleep? She asked. He didn't turn around. Apparently not. Me neither. Shocking. She moved into the kitchen, leaned against the counter. Are we going to talk about earlier? No. Ethan, I said things I shouldn't have said. You pushed buttons you shouldn't have pushed. We both crossed lines. Can we leave it at that? Can we? He finally looked at her, tired eyes, walls firmly back in place. We have to. Why? Because the alternative is admitting this is more complicated than a contract, and I'm not ready to do that. The honesty surprised her. At least that's honest. Don't get used to it. Wouldn't dream of it. He almost smiled, that ghost of expression she was learning to recognize. Coffee? At 2 a.m.? Sleep's overrated. Apparently. He poured 2 cups. They stood in the kitchen in the dark, drinking coffee, not talking. It should have been awkward. Somehow it wasn't. I had a fiancée, Ethan said suddenly. 5 years ago. Her name was Claire. Ava went very still. What happened? Car accident, drunk driver. She was gone before the ambulance arrived. He stared into his coffee. We were supposed to get married that summer. Had the venue booked, invitations ordered, whole future planned out. Then one night, one idiot who couldn't call a cab, and it was all gone. Ethan, I'm so sorry. Don't be. It was a long time ago. Grief doesn't work on a timeline. No, it doesn't. He set his cup down. After she died, I made a decision. No more attachments. No more vulnerability. Everything became about control, about building something so successful and so consuming that I didn't have to feel anything else. Worked well for 5 years. Until your father got sick. Until my father got sick and decided his legacy required me to be married. Ethan laughed without humor. Ironic, isn't it? The one thing I swore I'd never do again, and here we are. This isn't the same thing. No, it's not. That's the point. This is safe, transactional, no real feelings to complicate things, no risk of loss because there's nothing to lose. Ava felt something twist in her chest. Is that really what you think? It's what I know. Then why tell me about Claire? Because you asked what I was running from. That's the answer. I'm running from the memory of what it feels like to care about someone and have them ripped away. I'm running from ever feeling that helpless again. Ethan, don't. He held up a hand. Don't tell me it gets better or time heals or any of that. I've heard it all. What I learned is that the only way to not get hurt is to not care. Simple math. That's not living. That's just existing. Existing is safer. Existing is lonely. Yes. He looked at her then. But loneliness doesn't kill you. Caring does. They stood there in the dark kitchen, and Ava understood something fundamental. Ethan wasn't cold. He was terrified. Had built walls so high and so thick that nothing could get through. Had convinced himself that isolation was strength, and she was starting to care about him anyway, which was a catastrophic problem. "Thank you," she said quietly, "for telling me. Don't read too much into it." "I won't." "Liar." She smiled despite everything. "Maybe." They finished their coffee in silence, went back to their separate rooms. Ava lay in bed and thought about a woman named Claire who'd loved Ethan enough to plan a future with him, who died before she could see who he'd become, who'd left a hole so deep he'd spent 5 years running from it. No wonder he was afraid. No wonder he kept everyone at arm's length. No wonder this arrangement had seemed perfect to him. All the appearance of connection with none of the risk, but risk had a way of creeping in whether you wanted it or not. Ava was starting to realize that, starting to feel things she absolutely should not feel, starting to notice the way her heart jumped when Ethan walked into a room, the way she listened for his footsteps at night, the way she'd started thinking of the penthouse as home instead of a cage. This was bad. This was very bad, because in 9 months she'd have to leave. In 9 months, this would end. The contract would expire, the divorce would process, and they'd go back to being strangers. And Ava was starting to suspect that 9 months from now, walking away was going to hurt in ways she couldn't prepare for. The next morning, there were flowers in her room. Not the usual small arrangement from Maria, a massive bouquet of white roses. The card said, "For putting up with me." Ava stared at it for a long time. Then she got dressed and went to the hospital to visit Noah and tried very hard not to think about what those flowers meant. She failed. Christmas approached with the inevitability of a deadline. The city sparkled. Shop windows displayed perfect fantasy versions of the holiday. Families ice skated in Central Park. Couples kissed under mistletoe in doorways. Everything felt staged, like the whole city was performing happiness. Ava felt disconnected from all of it. She bought Noah presents, wrapped them carefully, helped him plan a small dinner with some friends from school who'd stuck by him through the treatment, smiled when he talked about the future like it was guaranteed now. "What are you doing for Christmas?" he asked. "Quiet day at home, probably." "With your husband?" "Maybe." "You still being weird about him?" "I'm not being weird." "You haven't brought him around once. It's weird. He's private." "Or you're lying about something." Ava looked at her brother. "What would I be lying about?" "I don't know, but something's off. You get this look sometimes, like you're somewhere else entirely, like you're going through the motions." "I'm fine, Noah, I promise." He didn't look convinced, but he dropped it. That night, Ava came home to find Ethan in the living room standing in front of a Christmas tree. A real one, 7 feet tall, undecorated. She stopped. "What is this?" "A tree." "I can see that. Why?" "Because it's Christmas next week and married people have Christmas trees." He looked uncomfortable. "Victoria said it was expected." "You got a tree because your assistant said so?" "Yes." "Do you even celebrate Christmas?" "Not really. Do you?" "Used to, when my parents were alive." Ava moved closer to the tree. It was beautiful, full, perfectly shaped, the kind that belonged in magazines. "This is surreal. We don't have to keep it." "No, She touched one of the branches, felt something shift in her chest. "It's nice, just unexpected." "Everything about this is unexpected." "True." They stood there looking at the tree. Finally, Ethan said, "There are decorations. In the closet. Victoria ordered them." "Of course she did." "Do you want to, He stopped. Started again. "Would you like to decorate it?" Ava looked at him. "Together?" "Unless you'd prefer to do it alone." "No, together is fine." It was awkward at first. Neither of them really knew what they were doing. Ethan unpacked ornaments with the care of someone defusing a bomb. Ava tried to figure out where things should go on a tree this size. They worked in silence, occasionally bumping into each other, muttering apologies. "Higher," Ava said, pointing to an ornament Ethan was hanging. "It's fine where it is." "It's lopsided. It's abstract." "It's wrong." He moved it. "Better?" Much. You're very particular about tree decorating. You're very bad at it. I've never done this before. That stopped her. Never? My family didn't really do Christmas. My father considered it frivolous. As an adult, I've been too busy. That's depressing. It's practical. It's sad. He didn't argue. They kept working. Slowly, the tree came together. Lights, ornaments, garland. It actually looked good, festive, like something from a normal home where normal people live normal lives. There's a star, Ethan said, holding up the final decoration. For the top. You should put it up. I can't reach. You're 6'2". And the tree is 7 feet. Physics isn't on my side. He looked at her. We need a ladder. Or teamwork. What kind of teamwork? Lift me up. He stared at her, but that's ridiculous. You have a better idea? He didn't. So he set the star down, moved behind her, and lifted her by the waist like she weighed nothing. Ava grabbed the star, reached up, managed to get it onto the top branch. It tilted. She adjusted again. Got it? Ethan asked. Almost. Little to the left. My left. No, the other, there. He set her down. They stepped back to look at their work. The tree was perfect, glowing, beautiful. The star on top caught the light and scattered it across the room. We did it, Ava said. We did. It's actually good. Don't sound so surprised, she laughed. Couldn't help it. The absurdity of the moment, her and Ethan Wolfe decorated a Christmas tree together in a penthouse that cost more than small countries, pretending to be something they weren't, except it didn't feel like pretending right now. Thank you, she said. For this. For what? Following Victoria's instructions? For trying. For putting up the tree. For lifting me. For... She gestured vaguely. All of it. Ethan looked at her for a long moment. Something in his expression had softened. You're welcome. They stood there in the glow of the tree lights, and Ava felt something dangerous bloom in her chest. Something warm and terrifying and absolutely forbidden. She was falling for him, despite the contract, despite the walls, despite everything. She was falling for Ethan Wolfe, and there was no way it could end well. I should go to bed, she said abruptly. It's only 9. Long day. Ava, good night, Ethan. She fled to her room before he could see the truth on her face. Lay in bed and stared at the ceiling and tried to figure out how everything had gotten so complicated. This was supposed to be simple. A transaction. A year of her life for Noah's survival. No feelings, no complications, just business. But somewhere between the silent breakfasts and the late-night conversations and the way Ethan had told her about Claire, something had shifted. The line between performance and reality had blurred. She'd started seeing him as a person instead of a stranger. Started noticing the way he tried to hide his kindness behind cold efficiency. Started wanting to reach through his walls and find the man underneath. This was a mistake. A massive, catastrophic mistake. Because in 8 months, this would end. And when it did, she'd have to walk away from whatever this was becoming. Would have to go back to her life and pretend none of it had mattered. Could she do that? Did she have a choice? Her phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. She opened it. Still awake? Ava stared at it. Realized it was Ethan. They'd never texted before, didn't even have each other's numbers saved. Unfortunately, she typed back, The tree looks good. It does. Thank you for helping. You're welcome. Long pause. Then, this is weird, isn't it? What is? This. Us. All of it. Extremely weird, but not terrible. Ava looked at the message for a long time before answering. No, not terrible. Another pause. Good night, Ava. Good night, Ethan. She set the phone down and closed her eyes and tried not to think about how his name had felt natural in that text. Like something she'd said 1,000 times before. Like something that belonged to her. It didn't. None of this did. She had to remember that. Outside her window, the city glittered with Christmas lights and false promises. Inside, Ava lay in the dark and felt the weight of 8 months pressing down on her like gravity. 8 months to keep pretending. 8 months to keep her heart in check. 8 months before everything fell apart. The tree glowed in the living room, beautiful and temporary, just like everything else in this arranged life. And somewhere down the hall, Ethan stood at his windows and looked out at the city and wondered when exactly his carefully controlled world had started to slip through his fingers. Christmas morning came quiet and strange. Ava woke to snow falling outside her window, the city muffled under white. For a moment she forgot where she was, forgot the contract and the arrangement, and the man sleeping down the hall. Then reality settled back in, heavy as the blankets. She got up, pulled on a robe, padded out to the kitchen. Expected to find it empty. Found Ethan instead, standing at the stove in sweatpants and a t-shirt she'd never seen him wear. His hair was messy. He wasn't wearing shoes. He looked almost human. "You cook?" she asked. He glanced back. "Occasionally, when James has the day off." "What are you making?" "Trying to make pancakes. Emphasis on trying." He gestured to the pan where something vaguely pancake-shaped was burning. "This isn't going well." Ava moved closer, looked at the disaster in progress. "When did you flip it?" 30 seconds ago. That's about 25 seconds too late. "I'm realizing that." She took the spatula from him. "Move, before you burn the place down." He stepped aside, looking almost relieved. Ava scraped the burnt pancake into the trash, poured new batter. They worked in silence, her cooking, him watching, the morning stretching out soft and unhurried. "I didn't know you celebrated Christmas," Ethan said finally. "I don't really, not since my parents died. But Noah likes it, so I make an effort." "Are you seeing him today?" "This afternoon. You?" "My father. Obligatory visit." He paused. "You could come, if you want." Ava glanced at him. "To see your dying father on Christmas?" "When you put it that way, it sounds depressing." "It is depressing." "Yes." He almost smiled. "But he'll expect both of us. Married couple, keeping up appearances. The usual performance." "Merry Christmas to us." "Indeed." She flipped the pancake, perfect golden brown. "At least one thing's going right today." They ate breakfast together at the kitchen island, plates of passable pancakes and coffee that was too strong. The tree glowed in the living room. Snow kept falling. It felt surreal, this quiet domesticity with a man who told her she meant nothing to him. Except he kept doing things that contradicted that. Kept leaving food. Kept texting her goodnight. Kept looking at her like he was trying to solve an equation that didn't have an answer. "There's something under the tree," Ethan said abruptly. "For you." "What?" "A gift. It's not—" "Don't read into it. Victoria handled most of it, but I thought it would look strange if there was nothing." Ava set down her fork. "You got me a Christmas present." "Technically, Victoria got you a Christmas present. I just approved the purchase." "That's the most Ethan thing I've ever heard." "I'll take that as a compliment." It wasn't one. He stood, went to the tree, came back with a small wrapped box, set it in front of her. "Here." Ava stared at it. "I didn't get you anything. I didn't expect you to. Now I feel terrible." "Don't. This is part of the arrangement. Maintaining appearances extends to holidays." She unwrapped it slowly. Inside was a velvet box. Inside that, a bracelet, delicate gold chain, small pendant shaped like a compass. "So you don't get lost," Ethan said quietly. Ava looked up at him. "This is beautiful. Victoria has good taste. Did Victoria pick the compass?" He didn't answer, which was answer enough. She put it on. It fit perfectly. "Thank you." "You're welcome." They sat there in the strange intimacy of Christmas morning, and Ava felt something shift again. Another crack in the foundation of what this was supposed to be. "I should get ready," she said. "If we're going to Connecticut." "Right, yes. We should leave by 11. The drive to the Wolf estate was quieter than usual. Ethan seemed tense, jaw tight, hands gripping the steering wheel harder than necessary. Ava recognized the signs now. He always got like this before seeing his father, closed off, armored. "You really hate him, don't you?" she asked. "I told you, I don't hate him. I just don't feel anything." "That's worse." "Is it?" "At least hate is something. What you have is just emptiness." Ethan was quiet for a long moment. He wasn't always like this. When I was young, before the company consumed everything, he was different, present, engaged. Then my mother died, and something in him died too. He threw himself into work, into building the empire, into making sure the wolf name meant something. I became part of that project, not a son, an investment. How old were you when she died? 12? That's terrible. It was a long time ago. Doesn't make it less terrible. He glanced at her. You sound like you understand. I was 15 when my dad died, 20 when I lost my mom. Different circumstances, but the shape of it's the same. One day you have parents, the next you're just trying to figure out how to keep breathing. And did you? Figure it out? Still working on it. They pulled up to the estate. Richard Wolf's nurse met them at the door, same tired smile as last time. He's having a rough morning, she warned. Pain's pretty bad. Try not to stay too long. Richard was in bed this time, propped up on pillows, oxygen mask beside him. He looked worse than before, grayer, frailer, like he was disappearing into the sheets. But his eyes were still sharp when they landed on Ava. Mrs. Wolf, Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, Mr. Wolf. Come closer. Let me see you properly. She moved to the bedside. Richard reached out, took her hand. His grip was weak but insistent. You're good for him, he said. I can see it. I don't know about that. I do. He looks less dead when you're around. His eyes shifted to Ethan, standing stiff by the door. You picked well, boy. It was random luck, Ethan said flatly. Nothing's random. You wanted someone who wouldn't break. Someone strong enough to deal with your bullshit. Richard coughed, wet and painful. You got what you needed. If you say so. They stayed 20 minutes, made stilted conversation. Richard drifted in and out, pain medication making him vague. Finally, the nurse suggested they let him rest. Come back next month, Richard said as they were leaving. I want to see you both again. We will, Ava said. Outside, Ethan was silent. They got in the car. He didn't start it immediately, just sat there, staring at nothing. He won't make it to next month, he said finally. You don't know that. Yes, I do. I've seen enough death to recognize it. He started the car. He'll be gone by February. I'm sorry. Don't be. Like I said, I don't feel anything. But his hands were shaking slightly on the wheel. They drove back to the city. Ava spent the afternoon with Noah, helping him host his small dinner party. His friends were kind, relieved to see him healthy. They laughed and ate and played ridiculous board games. Normal things. Human things. Noah pulled her aside while people were cleaning up. You seem different, he said. You keep saying that. Because it keeps being true. Something's changed. Noah, is it him? Your mysterious husband? Ava looked at her brother. It's complicated. Complicated how? In every possible way. Do you love him? The question hit like a physical blow. What? It's not a trick question. Do you love him? I barely know him. That's not an answer. It's the only answer I have. Ava looked away. Can we not do this right now? Fine. But Ava, whatever's going on, whatever you're not telling me, just be careful, okay? I'm always careful. No, you're not. You're reckless when it comes to people you care about. You always have been. She wanted to argue. Couldn't. He was right. She got home late, tired, emotionally wrung out, found Ethan in the living room, drink in hand, staring at the Christmas tree. How was dinner? He asked. Good. Yours? Depressing. Want to talk about it? Not particularly. She sat down on the couch. He didn't tell her to leave. They sat in silence, the tree lights casting shadows across the room. He looked bad, Ethan said after a while. Worse than I expected. I know. I should feel something. Grief, anger, something. But there's just nothing. What does that make me? Human, Ava said. You don't owe him anything. Not grief, not forgiveness, nothing. He's dying. Doesn't change what he did to you, how he made you feel. Ethan looked at her. How do you do that? Do what? See through everything? Every defense, every wall? You just see? Maybe I'm looking. Why? Good question. She didn't have a good answer. Or maybe she did and she wasn't ready to say it out loud. Because you matter, she said quietly. He went very still. Ava, I know. The contract, the arrangement, all of it. But you still matter. You can't say things like that. Why not? because it makes this more complicated than it needs to be. Maybe it's already complicated. They looked at each other across the dim room, and Ava felt the moment stretch and tighten like a wire about to snap. Then Ethan's phone rang. He answered it, listened. His expression went blank. When? Pause. I understand. Yes, I'll be there. He hung up, looked at Ava. That was the hospital. My father had a stroke an hour ago. Oh, God. Ethan, I have to go. I'm coming with you. You don't have to. I'm coming. They drove back to Connecticut in the middle of the night, snow falling harder now, roads slick and dangerous. Ethan drove too fast, jaw tight, saying nothing. Ava didn't try to make conversation, just sat beside him as the miles disappeared. The hospital was bright and sterile and full of machines that beeped with artificial urgency. Richard was in ICU, tubes everywhere, unconscious. The doctor said it was bad. Massive stroke. Significant brain damage. Even if he survived, he'd never wake up. Ethan stood at the bedside, looking down at his father, face completely blank. Mr. Wolf, the doctor said gently, we need to discuss options, life support, DNR orders, end-of-life care. He has a living will, Ethan said. No extraordinary measures. When the time comes, let him go. Are you sure? It's what he wanted. The doctor nodded, made notes, left them alone. Ava stood beside Ethan. What do you need? I don't know. That's okay. I should feel something. You don't have to. He's dying and I feel nothing. What's wrong with me? Nothing's wrong with you. She touched his arm. You're allowed to feel however you feel. They stayed until morning, watched Richard breathe with mechanical assistance, listened to monitors track a heartbeat that was only still going because machines willed it so. Dawn came gray and cold through the windows. I need air, Ethan said finally. They went outside. The parking lot was empty, covered in fresh snow. Ethan leaned against his car, head tipped back, breathing like he'd been running. This is it, he said. The end of the Wolf dynasty. My father dying alone in a hospital with a son who can't even grieve him properly. You're here. That's something. Is it? I'm here out of obligation, because it's expected, not because I care. Maybe that's enough. He looked at her then, really looked. Why are you here? Because you shouldn't be alone. That's not your job. I know. The contract doesn't require... See, this has nothing to do with the contract. Something broke in his expression. Ava, don't. Don't what? Care about me. It won't end well. Too late. I'm serious. I can't be what you need. I don't know how to be human anymore. Don't know how to let people in. Claire died and I locked everything down and I don't know how to unlock it. I'm not asking you to. Then what are you asking? Nothing. I'm just here. He stared at her. Then suddenly, he pulled her into a hug, held her tight, face buried in her hair, shaking slightly. Ava wrapped her arms around him and held on, feeling his walls crack and crumble. I'm scared, he whispered, of losing control, of feeling things, of this. I know. We can't do this. I know that too, but neither of them let go. They stood in the hospital parking lot as snow fell around them, holding on to each other like they were drowning, and something fundamental shifted between them. The contract, the arrangement, the careful distance they'd maintained, all of it dissolved in that moment. This was real now, terrifying and impossible and real. Richard Wolf died 3 days later. They withdrew life support on a Tuesday morning. His heart stopped within minutes. Peaceful, the doctor said, like he was just falling asleep. Ethan made all the arrangements with the same cold efficiency he applied to business deals. Funeral home, cremation, memorial service. He moved through it like a machine, no emotion, no hesitation. Ava watched him disappear further into himself with each decision. The memorial was small. Business associates, a few distant relatives. People who came out of obligation more than grief. Ethan gave a eulogy that sounded like a corporate presentation. Richard Wolf's achievements, his legacy, his impact on the industry. Nothing personal, nothing real. Afterward, people came up to offer condolences that sounded rehearsed. I'm sorry for your loss. He was a great man. The company will miss him. Ethan accepted each platitude with a nod, a handshake, perfect composure. But Ava could see the tension in his shoulders, the way his jaw kept clenching, the way he was barely holding himself together. At home that night, he went straight to his office, closed the door. Ava heard him on the phone, back to work, back to the only thing that made sense to him. She gave him an hour, then she knocked. "I'm busy," he called. "I don't care." Silence. Then, "Come in." He was at his desk, laptop open, files everywhere. Working, always working. "You need to stop," Ava said. "I'm fine." "You're not. I have a company to run. My father's death means board meetings, restructuring, legal complications. Your father died 4 hours ago, which is why I need to stay on top of things." "Ethan." She moved closer. "Stop running." "I'm not running. I'm working." "Same thing for you." He slammed the laptop closed. "What do you want from me, Ava? What do you expect? Tears? Some dramatic breakdown? That's not who I am. I'm not asking you to be anyone. I'm asking you to feel something." "I don't want to feel something. Feeling things is how you get destroyed. Or how you stay human. I don't want to be human. I want to be in control. You can't control everything. Watch me." They stared at each other across the desk, something electric and dangerous crackling between them. "This is about Claire," Ava said quietly. "Don't. You're terrified that if you let yourself grieve your father, you'll have to grieve her too. You'll have to face everything you've been running from for 5 years. You don't know what you're talking about." "Yes, I do. Because I did the same thing when my mother died. Threw myself into taking care of Noah, into work, into anything that meant I didn't have to stop and feel. And it almost destroyed me. I'm not you. No. But you're human. Whether you want to be or not." Ethan stood up, moved around the desk, stopped inches from her. "You need to leave." "No. Ava, I'm not leaving you alone tonight. That's not your decision." "Too bad. I'm making it anyway." They stood there, too close, breathing each other's air. Ava could see the war happening in his eyes, the need to push her away fighting with something else, something that looked like desperation. "Why?" he asked roughly. "Why do you care?" "Because someone should." "That's not an answer." "It's the only one I have right now." His hand came up, cupped her face, thumb brushing her cheekbone. "This is a mistake. Probably. We have a contract." "I know. 7 months left." "I know that too. This will complicate everything. Everything's already complicated." He leaned down, stopped, waited, giving her the choice. Ava made it. She kissed him. It wasn't gentle, wasn't sweet. It was desperate and messy, and 5 months of tension breaking all at once. His hands tangled in her hair. Hers gripped his shirt. They backed into the desk, into the wall, knocking things over, not caring. "This is a bad idea," Ethan breathed against her mouth. "Terrible," she agreed. "We should stop." "Probably." Neither of them stopped. They ended up on the couch in his office, tangled together. The world narrowed down to just this, his mouth on her neck, her hands under his shirt. The sound of their breathing, harsh and uneven. Then Ethan pulled back. Wait. What's wrong?" "Everything. We can't." "Why not?" "Because in 7 months you're leaving. This ends. We go back to being strangers. If we do this, if we cross this line, we already crossed the line." "Not like this." Ava sat up, trying to catch her breath. "Then what do you want?" "I don't know." He ran his hands through his hair. "I don't know what I want. For 5 years, I've known exactly what I want. Control, distance, safety. And then you showed up and everything's, what? Different. You're different. This is different. And I don't know how to do different. So we figure it out." "There's nothing to figure out. We have a contract, an end date. This was never supposed to be real." "But it is. You know it is." He looked at her. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I care about you, more than I should, more than I planned. And I think you care about me too." "Avis, do you care about me?" The question hung between them. Ethan stood up, paced. Yes, all right? Yes, I care about you. I notice everything about you. How you take your coffee, how you bite your lip when you're thinking, how you look first thing in the morning when you think no one's watching. I notice all of it, and I hate that I notice because noticing leads to caring, and caring leads to loss, and I can't. His voice broke. I can't do that again. Ava's heart was breaking. Ethan, I lost Claire, and it almost killed me. Spent 5 years building walls to make sure I never felt that way again. Then you walked into my office in that terrible blazer with the stain you tried to hide, and something in me just... He stopped. You're supposed to be nothing to me. That was the deal. And instead, you're everything, and I don't know what to do with that. She stood up, moved to him, took his face in her hands. You don't have to know, she said. We can figure it out as we go. What about the contract? I don't care about the contract. You should. It protects both of us. From what? This? Us? Yes. Maybe I don't want protection. He closed his eyes. This is insane. Completely. It won't work. Maybe not. You'll leave in 7 months. Maybe I won't. His eyes opened. What? Maybe I don't want to leave. Ava, you can't. That's not how this works. Then we change how it works. We can't just rewrite the contract because we developed feelings. Why not? Because I can't. He pulled away from her. You need to think about this rationally. In 7 months, you get your divorce settlement. $100,000. Freedom. A fresh start. Everything we agreed on. If you stay, if we try to make this real, you give all that up. And for what? A man who doesn't know how to be in a relationship? Who spent 5 years proving he's better off alone? You're not better off alone. You don't know that. Yes, I do. Because I've seen you, Ethan. Really seen you. And you're not the cold, calculating machine you pretend to be. You're hurt and scared and lonely, and you hide it behind work and control, but it's still there. Stop. You leave me food when you think I need it. You bought a Christmas tree because you thought it would make me happy. You told me about Claire because you wanted me to understand. Those aren't the actions of someone who doesn't care. Those are the actions of someone maintaining an asset. Bullshit. You don't kiss assets the way you just kissed me. He had no answer for that. They stood in his office, the city dark outside the windows, and Ava felt everything balanced on a knife's edge. I'm going to bed, Ethan said finally. We're both exhausted. We just buried my father. We're not thinking clearly. In the morning, this will make more sense. Will it? It has to. He left. Ava stood there alone, feeling like she'd just lost something she'd barely started to have. She went to her room, lay in bed, didn't sleep. Around 3 a.m., she heard his door open. Footsteps in the hall. Then a soft knock on her door. She opened it. Ethan stood there in the dim hallway, looking wrecked. I can't sleep, he said. Me neither. This is still a bad idea. I know. We're going to regret this. Probably. I don't know how to do this. Don't know how to be what you need. I don't need you to be anything except honest. He looked at her for a long moment. Then, I'm terrified. Of this. Of you. Of losing you. Of everything. Me too. But I don't want to be alone tonight. Then don't be. He stepped into her room. She closed the door behind him. They stood there in the dark, and then they were kissing again, slower this time, less desperate. He held her like she was something precious, something breakable. They ended up in her bed, tangled together, fully clothed, just holding each other. His face buried in her neck, her hands in his hair, not sex, just closeness, connection, the thing both of them had been running from. I miss this, he whispered, being close to someone. I didn't realize how much until now. Me too. What are we doing? I don't know, but maybe that's okay. They fell asleep like that, wrapped around each other, the contract and the arrangement and the end date temporarily forgotten. In the morning, Ava woke up alone. For a moment she thought she'd dreamed it. Then she saw the note on the pillow. Had to go to the office early. Board meeting. We'll talk tonight. She held the note, trying to decipher what it meant. Was he running again, or just being practical? She got up, showered, tried to pretend her world hadn't tilted sideways. Her phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Mrs. Wolf, this is David Chen from the legal department at Wolf Enterprises. Her stomach dropped. Yes? We need you to come in today. There's been a development regarding your marriage contract. What kind of development? I'd rather discuss it in person. Can you be here by 2? Yes. Yes, I can. Excellent. Ask for me at reception, 54th floor. He hung up. Ava stared at her phone, heart racing. A development regarding the contract. What the hell did that mean? She tried calling Ethan 3 times on the way to Wolf Enterprises. Each call went straight to voicemail, left one message, kept it vague. Her hands were shaking when she stepped into the elevator. The 54th floor looked exactly the same as it had 6 months ago. Same sterile perfection, same art that cost more than lives. But everything felt different now. She wasn't the desperate woman who'd signed away a year anymore. She was something else. Something more complicated. David Chen met her in the reception area. Older man, gray suit, kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. He shook her hand with genuine warmth. Mrs. Wolf, thank you for coming on short notice. What's this about? Let's talk in my office. He led her down a different hallway into a corner office with windows overlooking the city, gestured to a chair. She sat, feeling her pulse in her throat. David settled behind his desk, pulled out a file. Thick one. Official looking. I'll get straight to it. Mr. Wolf Sr.'s will was read this morning. There are provisions that directly affect your marriage contract. Ava's stomach dropped. What kind of provisions? Richard Wolf added a codicil 3 weeks before his stroke. It stipulates that if Ethan's marriage ends in divorce within 2 years of the wedding date, his inheritance is contested. The company's shares would go into a trust controlled by the board rather than transferring to Ethan directly. I don't understand. What does that mean? It means your husband stands to lose controlling interest in Wolf Enterprises if you divorce him in the next 18 months. The room tilted. That can't be legal. It's complicated. The lawyers are reviewing it, but Richard was very specific. He wanted to ensure Ethan's marriage was genuine and lasting. He suspected the arrangement was contractual and built in safeguards. He knew, Ava said quietly. He told us he knew. Apparently he knew more than he let on. David leaned forward. Mrs. Wolf, I'm telling you this because it affects your contract. The original agreement stipulated divorce after 1 year. That's now impossible without significant financial consequences for Mr. Wolf. The board met this morning. They're recommending the contract be renegotiated or extended. Does Ethan know about this? He was informed an hour ago. That's why he wasn't answering. He was dealing with this, with the realization that his father had trapped him from beyond the grave. What happens now? Ava asked. That depends on you and Mr. Wolf. You could extend the contract another year. You could renegotiate terms. Or, David paused. You could dissolve the marriage now, and he accepts the consequences, which would destroy everything he's built. Most likely, yes. The board members who opposed his leadership would have ammunition. There would be legal battles. The company could fracture. Ava stood up, moved to the windows. The city spread out below, indifferent to human complications. His father did this on purpose, she said. One last manipulation. Richard Wolf was very good at controlling outcomes. Even after death. Especially after death. She turned back. I need to talk to Ethan. Of course. He's in the boardroom. 3rd door on the left. Ava walked down the hall on autopilot. Everything from last night replayed in her head. The kiss. The confession. The way he'd held her like she was the only real thing in his world. And now this. Another layer of complication on top of feelings that were already impossible. She knocked on the boardroom door. No answer. Knocked again. I'm busy. Ethan's voice muffled. It's me. Silence. Then, come in. The boardroom was massive. Long table, leather chairs. Ethan sat at the far end, laptop open, papers everywhere. He looked up when she entered. Looked exhausted. David told you, he said. Not a question. Yes. Then you understand the situation. Your father screwed us both. He screwed me. You're just collateral damage. Ethan closed his laptop. I'm sorry. This wasn't supposed to affect you. Of course it affects me. I'm your wife. On paper. Is that still what we're calling this? After last night? He looked away. Last night was a mistake. The words hit like a slap. A mistake. Yes, we were emotional. My father had just died. We weren't thinking clearly. I was thinking perfectly clearly. Then you're more reckless than I thought. He stood up, paced. This situation is impossible, Ava. If we divorce now, I lose everything. If we stay married, you're trapped. Either way, someone gets hurt. So we figure out a third option. There is no third option. We could make the marriage real. He stopped, stared at her. What? You heard me. We could stop pretending. Stop treating this like a business arrangement. Make it real. That's insane. Why? We already live together. Already attend events as a couple. Already... She stopped. Last night you said you cared about me. Did you mean it? That's not relevant. It's the only thing that's relevant. Ava, do you want me to leave? Is that what this is? You're pushing me away because it's easier than admitting you feel something? I'm pushing you away because staying is a trap. Don't you see that? My father designed this perfectly. You stay, you give up your freedom. You leave, you destroy me. Either way, he wins. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe we win. There's no winning here. Then we lose together. Ethan looked at her like she'd lost her mind. You can't actually want this. 6 months ago, you needed money for your brother. That's the only reason you're here. Now Noah's healthy, treatment's paid for. You have options. You could walk away right now with the 100,000 settlement and start over. And leave you to deal with this alone? I've been alone for 5 years. I know how to handle it. That's not strength. That's just fear. You don't know what you're talking about. Yes, I do. Because I'm scared too. Terrified, actually. But I'm not running. Maybe you should be. Ava moved closer. Tell me you don't want this. Tell me last night meant nothing. Tell me you want me to leave. If you can do that, if you can look me in the eye and say it, I'll go. He met her eyes. Opened his mouth. Nothing came out. That's what I thought, she said quietly. This won't work. You don't know that. I've already lost one person I loved. I won't go through that again. I'm not Claire. No, you're worse. Claire and I planned a future, built something intentionally. You and I stumbled into this. It's messy and complicated and built on lies. What kind of foundation is that? An honest one. We both know exactly what this is. Do we? Because I don't know anything anymore. 6 months ago, everything made sense. Now you're standing here asking me to blow up my entire life and I can't think straight. His phone buzzed. He glanced at it, swore. Board wants answers by end of day. They need to know if we're extending the contract or dissolving it. What do you want to do? I want to go back 6 months and never make this deal in the first place. Well, we can't. So what do we do now? He looked at her. Really looked. And she saw everything in his eyes. Fear and want and confusion and something that looked dangerously close to love. I need time, he said finally. To think. To figure out what's best for everyone. Ethan, please, just give me until tonight. I'll have an answer tonight. Ava wanted to argue, wanted to push, but she could see how close he was to breaking. Okay, she said, tonight. She left him in his boardroom, went home to the penthouse that had stopped feeling like a cage somewhere along the way, sat in the living room staring at the Christmas tree they'd decorated together, the ornaments they'd hung, the star he'd lifted her up to place. Her phone rang. Noah. Hey, she answered. You sound weird. What's wrong? Nothing, just tired. Liar. What happened? She hadn't told him about Ethan's father, hadn't told him about any of it. It's complicated. Is it him? Your husband? Noah, just tell me, are you okay? I don't know. Honestly, I have no idea if I'm okay. Come over, right now. We need to talk. I can't. I'm waiting for... I have to be here. Ava, you're scaring me. I'm fine, I promise. I just need to figure some things out. Figure what out? What's going on? She wanted to tell him. Wanted to explain the whole impossible situation. But the NDA, the contract, the complexity of it all. I can't explain right now, but I will, soon. Okay? He was quiet for a moment, You're in over your head, aren't you? Completely. Do you love him? The question again, the one she'd been avoiding answering even to herself. Yeah, she said quietly. I think I do. Then what's the problem? He doesn't know how to let me. Then make him. It's not that simple. It never is. But Ava, I've watched you sacrifice everything for me. For Mom when she was sick, for Dad before that. You've spent your whole life taking care of other people. Maybe it's time to take care of yourself. What if taking care of myself means staying in something that might not work? What if it means giving yourself a chance at something real? She sat with that for a long moment. When did you get so wise? Near-death experience really clarifies priorities. I love you. You know that? I know. Love you too. Now go get your man. She hung up, sat there as afternoon faded into evening. Watched the city lights come on one by one. Ethan didn't come home. 7 o'clock became 8. 8 became 9. Still nothing. She texted him. Where are you? No response. She called. Voicemail. By 10, she was pacing. By 11, she was furious. By midnight, she was terrified something had happened. Then she heard the elevator. Ethan walked in looking like he'd been to war. Suit rumpled, tie gone, hair a mess. He saw her standing in the living room and stopped. I thought you'd be asleep, he said. You said you'd have an answer tonight. I know. So where were you? Walking, thinking, trying to figure out how to do this. Do what? He moved closer, stopped a few feet away. I went to Claire's grave, first time in 2 years, stood there talking to a headstone like an idiot, trying to figure out what she'd say about all this. What did you decide? That she'd tell me I'm being a coward, that I'm using her death as an excuse to stay closed off, that she wouldn't want me to spend the rest of my life alone because I'm too scared to try again. Ava's heart was pounding. Ethan, I talked to the board, told them we're extending the contract, 18 months minimum, renegotiating terms. He pulled a document from his jacket. New contract, same financial provisions for you, same living arrangements, but with one change. What change? No end date. The marriage continues until one of us wants out. No pressure, no timeline, just open-ended. She stared at him. You're serious? Completely. If you want to leave tomorrow, you can. You'll get everything we agreed on. But if you want to stay, if you want to see where this goes... He stopped. I'm not good at this. At feelings. At being vulnerable. I'm probably going to mess it up 100 times. But I want to try. With you. Why? Because last night, for the first time in 5 years, I didn't feel alone. Because you see through all my bullshit and call me on it. Because you make me want to be better than the man I've become. He moved closer. Because I'm falling in love with you, and it terrifies me, but I'd rather be terrified with you than safe without you. Ava felt tears on her face, didn't remember starting to cry. Say something, Ethan said quietly. You're an idiot. I know. You should have told me where you were. I was worried. I know. I'm sorry. And this contract, we don't need it. I already decided. Decided what? That I'm staying, not because of money or terms or any of it, because I love you too. Something broke in his expression. Relief, joy, fear, all of it at once. You're sure? He asked. Terrified. But sure. This might not work. Probably won't. I'm going to disappoint you. Definitely. Then why? Because loving someone isn't about guarantees. It's about choosing them anyway. He closed the distance between them, cupped her face in his hands. I don't deserve you. Too bad. You're stuck with me. Promise? Promise. He kissed her then, soft and careful and full of everything they'd been too scared to say. When they broke apart, he rested his forehead against hers. What do we do now? He asked. We figure it out. Together. Together, he repeated, like he was testing the word. I like the sound of that. They stood there in the living room with the Christmas tree lights glowing and the city spread out below and the future stretching uncertain ahead. It wasn't perfect, wasn't guaranteed, but it was real. Ava pulled back slightly. We should probably tell Noah and Victoria and pretty much everyone that we're actually married now. that we're actually trying. How do we explain that? The truth, that we started as a transaction and became something else. People will think we're crazy. Let them. Ethan smiled, actually smiled, the kind that reached his eyes. You're really staying. I'm really staying. Even though I'm emotionally unavailable and work too much and don't know how to be in a relationship? Especially because of that. Someone has to teach you. That's a terrible reason to stay. Good thing I have better ones. Like what? Like the way you leave food for me when I'm tired. Like the way you defended me at that gala. Like the way you told me about Claire even though it hurt. She touched his face. Like the way you're looking at me right now. How am I looking at you? Like I'm real. Like I matter. You do matter. More than anything. See? You're already getting better at this. He laughed. Actually laughed. The sound surprised them both. I don't think I've laughed in months, he said. We'll work on that too. They ended up on the couch, tangled together, talking until 3 a.m. about everything and nothing. Plans and fears and all the complicated logistics of turning a fake marriage into a real one. What they'd tell people. How they'd handle the board. What came next. We should probably go to bed, Ava said eventually. You have that meeting tomorrow. I'm canceling it. You can't just cancel board meetings. Watch me. I have more important things to do. Like what? Like spending the day with my wife. The word sounded different now, not contractual, not performative, real. Your wife, Ava repeated. I like that. Yeah? Yeah. They went to bed. His bed this time. Fell asleep holding each other like they had the night before, except this time there was no contract between them. No end date, no pretending, just two broken people choosing to be broken together. In the morning, Ava woke up to Ethan watching her. That's creepy, she mumbled. You snore. I do not. Little bit. Take it back. Make me. She kissed him. He pulled her closer. We should get up, she said against his mouth. Should we? Probably. Neither of them moved. Later, over coffee in the kitchen, Ethan's phone rang. He glanced at it, frowned. It's Marcus. Answer it. He did. Marcus, what's... He stopped, listened. His expression went dark. When? How did he... I see. Yes, I understand. I'll handle it. He hung up, looked at Ava. What's wrong? She asked. My father's lawyer. Apparently there's more to the will than David told us. A second codicil. This one about you. Her stomach dropped. What about me? If our marriage appears fraudulent in any way, you're required to repay every cent I've spent on your brother's treatment, with interest. Comes to approximately $600,000. The room spun. He can't... He already did. It's ironclad. His lawyers made sure of it. So even now, even with us choosing this, he's still controlling everything. Yes. Ethan set his phone down. He wanted to make sure we couldn't fake it, that we had to make it real or lose everything. I don't have $600,000. I know. I can't pay that back. I'd lose. Noah would lose. Hey! Ethan pulled her into his arms. We're not letting that happen. But if anyone finds out this started as a contract, they won't. Because it's not a contract anymore. It's real. We make it real in every way that matters, and there's nothing anyone can do. You're sure? I'm sure. We choose each other. We make this work. And my father loses. Even from the grave, he loses. Ava held on to him, feeling the weight of it all, the manipulation, the control, the fact that even now Richard Wolfe was pulling strings. But Ethan was right. They could beat this. Together. We should tell Noah, she said. The truth. All of it. You sure? He deserves to know. And I'm tired of lying. They drove to Noah's apartment that afternoon. Her brother opened the door, took one look at them together, and smiled. So you figured it out. How did you know? Ava asked. Because you look less miserable. Both of you. He stepped aside. Come in. They sat in his tiny living room. Ava told him everything, the contract, the arrangement, how it had started, how it had changed, all of it. Noah listened without interrupting. When she finished, he looked at Ethan. You really love her? Yes, Ethan said without hesitation. And you're not going to hurt her? I'm going to try very hard not to. That's not a no. It's the only honest answer I have. I'm going to mess up, probably frequently, but I'm not going anywhere. Noah studied him for a long moment, then nodded. Okay, good enough. That's it? Ava asked. No lecture? No concerns? You're a grown woman, Ava. You've spent your whole life making sacrifices. If you say this is what you want, I believe you. He looked at Ethan. Just don't make me regret that belief. I'll do my best. They stayed for dinner. Noah showed Ethan his paintings. They talked about art and business and completely normal things. It felt surreal, her brother and her husband getting along, making jokes, being human. On the drive home, Ethan was quiet. What are you thinking? Ava asked. That your brother's a good man, and that you're lucky to have him. We're both lucky. Yes, we are. Back at the penthouse, they stood at the windows looking out at the city. The same view Ethan had stared at alone for years, except now Ava was beside him. I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop, he admitted, for something to go wrong. Maybe nothing will. Nothing ever stays good in my life. Then will be the first time it does. He pulled her close. I don't know how to do this, how to be happy. It's been so long. We'll figure it out. You keep saying that because it's true. You have a lot of faith in us. Someone has to. He kissed the top of her head. Thank you. For what? For not giving up on me. For seeing something worth saving. Always. They stood there as night fell, and for the first time in 5 years, Ethan Wolfe felt something other than empty. He felt hope. Hope turned out to be more complicated than either of them expected. The next 3 weeks were strange. Good strange, mostly, but still strange. They were learning how to be married for real, and neither of them had a manual. Ethan would forget and revert to cold efficiency. Ava would pull back when things felt too intense. They'd collide and apologize and try again. But they were trying. That was the difference. The board meeting to officially address Richard's will happened on a Tuesday. Ethan went in alone despite Ava's offer to come with him, came back 3 hours later looking drained. How'd it go? She asked. They accepted the contract extension. No questions about legitimacy. My father's codicil about the fraudulent marriage clause stays sealed unless someone challenges it. He loosened his tie. We're safe. For now. Why don't you sound relieved? Because Robert Chen asked pointed questions about how quickly we fell in love, how convenient the timing was. He's suspicious. Does he have proof? No, but he has instincts, and he's very good at digging. Ava felt cold settle in her stomach. What do we do? We do exactly what we've been doing. We live our lives. We make this real, and we don't give him anything to find. It should have been simple. It wasn't. Robert started showing up everywhere, at events, at dinners, always watching, always asking casual questions that felt loaded. How did you two meet again? What attracted you to Ethan? When did you know it was love? Ava got good at lying, hated herself for it. He's going to find something, she told Ethan one night after another dinner where Robert had grilled her about their relationship timeline. There's nothing to find. We destroyed the original contract. Only Marcus knows the truth, and he's not talking. What about Victoria, David Chen, the lawyers who drew up the paperwork? All signed NDAs, all loyal, and all compensated well enough to stay quiet. People talk, Ethan. Eventually, people always talk. He pulled her close. Then we make sure there's nothing to talk about. We make this so real that even if someone did find the original contract, it wouldn't matter. Because what we have now is genuine. Is it? She asked quietly. He pulled back to look at her. You doubt that? I don't know. Sometimes I wake up and wonder if this is real or if we're both just really committed to the performance. You think I'm performing? I think we both are. A little. We went from contractual strangers to married couple in love in 6 months. That's not normal. Nothing about us is normal. Maybe that's the problem. They fought that night. First real fight. Ava said he was still keeping her at arm's length. Ethan said she was looking for problems where there weren't any. She slept in her old room. He didn't try to stop her. In the morning, she found him in the kitchen making breakfast. Badly. Pancakes were burnt. Coffee was too weak. He looked like he hadn't slept. "I'm sorry," he said before she could speak. "You're right. I do keep you at a distance sometimes. It's habit, defense mechanism, but I'm trying to break it. I'm sorry too, for doubting this, doubting us. You're allowed to doubt. This is insane. We're insane. So what do? We keep trying. We mess up and apologize and try again. That's what real couples do, right?" "I think so. I don't actually know. Never done this before." "Neither have I. Not really. Claire and I were together since college. We grew into it. This is jumping off a cliff and hoping we figure out how to fly on the way down?" "Exactly that." They ate burnt pancakes and weak coffee, and it felt more real than any perfect meal ever had. But Robert Chen didn't give up. 2 weeks later, Ava got a call from a private investigator. Said he was looking into Ethan's background for a business profile. Asked about their relationship, how they met, details about the wedding. She told him nothing and called Ethan immediately. "He's digging," she said. "Robert hired someone. I'll handle it." "How?" "By giving him something else to worry about." Ethan called an emergency board meeting, proposed a massive acquisition that would require every member's full attention, dropped it on them like a bomb. Robert had to choose between investigating Ethan's marriage and protecting his own interests in the company. He chose the company. The investigator stopped calling. "That was smart," Ava said that night. "That was a $20 million distraction," Ethan corrected, "but worth it." "You spent $20 million to protect us?" "I'd spend more. Whatever it takes." She looked at him. "You mean that?" "Of course I mean it. You think I'm going to let my father's paranoia and Robert's suspicions destroy what we have? What do we have exactly?" He cupped her face. "Everything I didn't know I wanted. Everything I've been too scared to reach for. You." She kissed him, pulled him toward the bedroom. They made love slowly, carefully, like they were learning each other's bodies for the first time. Maybe they were. Everything before had been desperate or uncertain. This was intentional. Real. After lying tangled in sheets, Ava said, "I want to do something crazy." "How crazy?" "Let's go away. Just us. Somewhere no one knows us. No board, no events, no performance." "Where?" "I don't care. Beach, mountains, different country. Anywhere that's not here." Ethan was quiet for a moment. "I haven't taken a vacation in 7 years." "Then you're overdue." "What about work?" "It'll survive without you for a week." "A week? Too much." "Not enough. Let's do 2. She sat up to look at him. "Seriously?" "Seriously. Where do you want to go?" "Somewhere warm, with water, and absolutely no cell service." 3 days later, they were on a plane to a private island in the Caribbean, place Ethan's company used for executive retreats. Currently empty. Perfect. The island was small, beautiful, isolated. White sand, clear water. One main house with floor-to-ceiling windows and a deck that hung over the ocean. No neighbors. No interruptions. Just them. The first day, Ava kept waiting for Ethan to check his phone, check email, something. He didn't. Just sat on the beach watching the waves like he'd never seen water before. "You okay?" she asked. "I forgot what quiet sounds like." "Is it freaking you out?" "Little bit." "We can go back if you want." "No, I need this. We need this." They spent the week doing nothing. Swimming, reading, talking, learning each other without the weight of contracts and secrets and other people's expectations. Ethan told her about his mother, about what he'd wanted to be before the company consumed everything, about dreams he'd given up. Ava told him about her parents, about the guilt she carried for not saving them, about how Noah getting sick had felt like the universe punishing her for something. "That's not how it works," Ethan said. "Bad things happen. Not because we deserve them, just because. I know that logically, but emotionally we blame ourselves. I get it. I spent 2 years thinking Claire's death was somehow my fault. If I'd picked her up that night, if I'd insisted she stay over, if I'd done anything different. But it wasn't your fault. No. And Noah getting sick wasn't yours. They sat on the beach as the sun set, and Ava felt something shift, like a weight she'd have been carrying for years finally lifting. On the last night, they sat on the deck watching stars. Ethan pulled out a small box. "I got you something," he said. "When? We've been here all week." "I had it before we left. Was waiting for the right moment." She opened the box. Inside was a ring, not the one he'd given her at their courthouse wedding. This was different. Delicate band with small diamonds, beautiful, personal. "The first ring was part of the contract," he said quietly. "This one isn't. This one means I choose you. Not because of my father's will or board pressure or any of it, because you're the best decision I've made in 5 years." Ava felt tears on her face. "Ethan, marry me. Again. For real this time. Not in a judge's office with lawyers watching. Somewhere that matters. With people we care about. I want to stand in front of everyone and tell them I love you and mean it. We're already married. Not the way I want to be, not the way you deserve." He took the ring from the box. "Ava Carter, will you marry me? Actually marry me?" She was full on crying now. "You're such an idiot." "Is that a yes?" "Of course it's a yes." He slipped the ring on her finger. It fit perfectly. She tackled him backward onto the deck, kissing him through tears and laughter. "When?" she asked. "Whenever you want." "Small ceremony?" "Tiny, just the people who matter." "Noah, Marcus, Victoria." "That's it?" "That's everyone who matters." They planned it on the flight home. Small ceremony in the penthouse. Next month. Simple vows, real ones. Everything the first wedding hadn't been. Noah cried when they told him. Actually cried. "I'm getting to walk you down the aisle," he said. "Properly, not as a secret, as your brother. You're not walking me anywhere. We're standing together, all three of us." Marcus agreed to officiate. Victoria handled logistics. They kept it quiet, invited no one else. This was theirs. But the morning of the ceremony, Ethan's phone rang. Unknown number. He answered, listened. His face went white. "What?" Ava asked. He hung up. "That was a reporter. Says he has proof our marriage started as a contract. Wants a statement before he runs the story." The room tilted. "How?" "I don't know, but it's over. Once that story breaks, the board will investigate. They'll find the codicil. You'll owe $600,000. I know." Ava sat down heavily. "What do we do?" "I can pay it. I can cover what you'd owe." "That's not the point. Your father wanted proof this was real. A story about us faking it destroys that proof. Then we stop it from running." "How?" Ethan paced. "I could buy the publication. Kill the story. That's insane." "So is losing you." "Ethan, think about what you're saying. You can't just—" His phone rang again, different number. He answered, "Marcus, what?" His expression shifted. "You're sure, completely sure?" Long pause. "Thank you, I owe you everything." He hung up, looked at Ava. "Marcus tracked down the reporter. It's Robert Chen. He's the source. He's been investigating for months. Found a lawyer who worked on the original contract. Guy broke his NDA for money. So it's over." "Not quite. The lawyer didn't keep copies, has no proof. It's his word against ours. And Marcus just offered him twice what Robert paid to recant his statement. He took it? He took it. Robert has nothing. Story won't run." Ava exhaled. "We're safe?" "For now, but Robert won't stop. He'll keep digging, keep looking for proof." "Then what do we do?" Ethan was quiet for a long moment. Then, "We tell the truth." "What?" "Not to Robert, not to the board, but to everyone who matters. Today. At the ceremony. We tell them how this started, why we did it, all of it. Ethan, that's the only way forward. We stop hiding, stop pretending we started perfect. We own the truth, that we made a deal and fell in love anyway, that we're choosing each other despite how it began. People will judge us. Let them. I don't care what people think anymore. I care about you, about us, about building something real, even if it started fake." Ava looked at him. "You're serious, like..." "Completely. We stand up there today and we tell the truth. And anyone who has a problem with it can leave. Noah already knows, Marcus knows, Victoria knows. Then they won't be surprised. They'll just hear us own it. The ceremony was supposed to start in 2 hours. Ava spent that time rewriting her vows. No more pretty lies, just truth. When the moment came, she stood in the living room of the penthouse with Ethan and Noah and Marcus and Victoria and the officiant and told them everything. How desperate she'd been, how calculated he'd been, how they'd signed contracts instead of saying vows, how it had all been fake. But somewhere between the performances and the pretending, she said, looking at Ethan, something real happened. I saw past your walls. You saw past my desperation. We started choosing each other, not because we had to, because we wanted to. Ethan took her hands. I told myself this was business, that you were a solution to a problem, that I could go a year without feeling anything. I was wrong. You made me feel everything. Fear and anger and hope and love. You made me want to be better than the man I'd become. And I choose you. Every day. Not because of contracts or obligations, because you're the only real thing in my carefully controlled life. There wasn't a dry eye in the room. The officiant, a friend of Marcus's who'd heard everything and didn't care, said, I've married a lot of people. Never heard vows like that. You two are either the most honest couple I've met or the craziest. Both, Ava and Ethan said together. They exchanged new rings. Said I do. Kissed like it was the first time and the 1,000th time all at once. Noah hugged them both so hard they could barely breathe. Welcome to the family, he told Ethan. Officially. I feel like I've been part of it for months, Ethan said. You have been. We just didn't tell you. Victoria was crying, actually crying. I've planned 100 weddings for the Wolf family. This is the first one that mattered. Marcus raised a glass. To the most unconventional love story I've ever witnessed. May you spend the rest of your lives proving everyone wrong. They drank champagne, ate cake from a bakery down the street because they'd forgotten to order anything fancy, laughed and talked and celebrated something small and perfect in theirs. Later, after everyone left, Ava and Ethan stood at the windows looking out at the city. We did it, she said. We did. So what happens now? Now we live, together, honestly, whatever comes. Robert's still out there, still suspicious. Let him be suspicious. We know the truth. That's enough. Is it? He turned her to face him. 6 months ago, you walked into my office desperate and scared, and I offered you a transaction. You said yes because you had no choice. Today, you married me because you wanted to. That's the truth. Everything else is just noise. What about your father's codicil? The $600,000 if someone proves fraud? No one can prove fraud. Because it's not fraud. We're genuinely married, genuinely in love. The contract's gone. All that's left is us. You make it sound simple. Maybe it is. We complicate things by worrying about what people think. What if we just stopped? Stopped worrying? Stopped caring what anyone thinks except each other. Ava considered that. Revolutionary concept. Might work. Might fail spectacularly. Then we fail together. She kissed him. I can live with that. They went to bed in their room, in their home, as husband and wife for the second time and first time all at once. And Ava fell asleep thinking about how love wasn't supposed to start with contracts and cold calculations. Wasn't supposed to be built on secrets and performances. But theirs had. And it was real anyway. The next morning, Ethan got a call from Robert Chen. Ava watched his face as he listened. I understand, Ethan said finally. Thank you for letting me know. He hung up, looked at Ava. Robert's resigning from the board, moving to his company's London office. Says the acquisition I proposed is too much work for him to manage while investigating personal matters. He's giving up? He's choosing his battles, and we're not worth fighting anymore. So we're safe. We're safe. Ava exhaled, felt the last piece of fear dissolve. It's over, she said. Actually, over. Not over. Just beginning. 3 months later, Noah got his acceptance to art school, full scholarship. He was fully healthy, cancer-free, future bright ahead of him. Ava cried when he told her. Happy tears this time. None of this would have happened without you, Noah said. Without Ethan, you mean? Without both of you. You saved my life, both of you. The three of them had dinner that night. Ethan and Noah had become friends, real ones. They talked art and business and completely normal things. Ava watched them and felt something settle in her chest. Family. This was family. Later, in bed, Ethan said, "Your brother asked me something today." "What?" "If I regretted it. The contract, the arrangement, how it all started." "What did you say?" "That I regret nothing, because it brought me you." "That's cheesy." "It's true. Still cheesy. I can live with cheesy." She turned to face him in the dark. "I don't regret it either, any of it, even the hard parts. Even when I was a bastard? Especially then, made the good parts better." "That's terrible logic." "Good thing I'm not with you for your logic." "What are you with me for?" She pretended to think. "The money, obviously." He tickled her. She shrieked. They wrestled like children until they were breathless and laughing and tangled together. "Seriously, though," she said when they'd calmed down, "I'm with you because you're you, broken and brilliant and trying so hard to be better. That's enough." "I love you," he said, not hesitating, not hiding. "I love you too." They fell asleep wrapped around each other, and the city glowed outside their windows like a promise. 6 months after that, they renewed their vows again. Bigger ceremony this time. Ethan's colleagues, Ava's friends, people who mattered. They told everyone the whole story, how they'd started, how they'd changed, how love could grow in the strangest soil. Some people were scandalized. Some thought it was romantic. Ava and Ethan didn't care. They stood in front of everyone and promised forever, and meant it. The penthouse stopped feeling like a museum. They filled it with Noah's paintings, books Ava loved, photos from their trips, life, messy and real, and theirs. Ethan cut back his hours, started coming home for dinner, started taking weekends off, started remembering what it felt like to be human instead of a machine. Ava went back to school, studied writing, started working on the novel she'd always wanted to write. A love story that started with a contract, fiction, she told people, completely made up. They fought sometimes, about work and schedules and stupid things like whose turn it was to load the dishwasher. Normal couple stuff. They got better at apologizing, better at being honest. 2 years after they first met, Ethan found Ava on the couch, laptop open, staring at a blank page. "Writer's block?" he asked. "Ending block. Can't figure out how to finish the story." "What's the story about?" "Two people who made a deal and fell in love. But I don't know how to end it. Happy ending feels fake. Sad ending feels wrong." Ethan sat beside her. "What if you ended honestly?" "What's honest?" "That they didn't get perfect. They got real. They made mistakes and apologized and tried again. They built something from nothing. That's the ending." "That's not very dramatic." "Life's not dramatic. It's just living." She looked at him. "When did you get so wise?" "When I married someone who taught me what matters." "That's definitely going in the book." "I want royalties." "You're a billionaire." "Principle of the thing." She kissed him, saved the document, closed the laptop. "Come on," she said. "Let's go do something completely impractical." "Like what?" "I don't know. Walk in the park, get ice cream, act like normal people." "We're not normal people." "We could pretend." "I'm done pretending." "Then let's just be us." They walked through Central Park holding hands like teenagers, got ice cream from a vendor who didn't know who they were and didn't care, sat on a bench and watched people pass and talked about nothing important. "This is nice," Ethan said. "This is perfect." "I thought we didn't do perfect." "We don't, but this is close." They went home as the sun set, cooked dinner together. Ethan still couldn't make pancakes worth a damn, but he tried. Ava appreciated the effort. After dinner, they stood at their windows looking out at the city that had witnessed everything. The deal, the performance, the collapse, the rebuilding. "You know what I realized?" Ava said. "What?" "This view. You used to stand here alone every night, looking lost." "I was lost." "Not anymore." "No, not anymore." She leaned against him. He wrapped his arms around her. They stood there as the city lights came on one by one. And Ava thought about how love wasn't supposed to start with signatures and lawyers. Wasn't supposed to be built on desperation and calculation. But sometimes the best things came from the worst beginnings. Sometimes you had to lose yourself completely to find something real. Sometimes a contract could become a promise and a performance could become truth. They'd started as strangers bound by obligation, trapped in an arrangement that felt more like a cage than a home. And they'd become something neither of them expected, something real and messy and imperfectly perfect. The walls of the penthouse remained the same, but the distance was gone. The silence was gone. The emptiness was gone. What remained was them, together, choosing each other every day. Not because they had to, because they wanted to. That was the ending. That was the truth. Two broken people who'd signed a contract and found love anyway. Who'd built something real from a foundation of lies. Who'd proven that sometimes the most unlikely beginnings led to the most beautiful endings. And as they stood at the windows watching the city glow below them, Ava understood something fundamental. She'd walked into Ethan Wolf's office 6 months pregnant with fear, desperate for a solution, willing to sign away a year of her life. She'd gotten so much more than she'd bargained for. She'd gotten home, she'd gotten family, she'd gotten love. And in the end, that was worth every second of uncertainty, every moment of fear, every risk they'd taken. Because love, real love, was always worth the gamble, even when it started with a contract, especially then. The end.